I always find it really interesting, Mike, how people kind of hang on to old habits, and they're often things that they've done for years and years and years, so hence they're a habit, but they don't really serve them anymore. They're things that they could do with leaving behind, but they kind of hang on to them, they cling on to them, they're a bit of a pillar.
It's a comfort blanket.
Comfort blanket, that's it, it's the metaphorical comfort blanket. And even though they often know that they don't really serve them, that if they sort of search deep down, they know it doesn't really have a place in their new life.
Yeah.
They just kind of hang on to things. Do you see that as well?
Never.
Never in your world does anybody hang on to a...
Including me, I have no poor behaviours. No, you're right. And I guess we see it a lot because we're doing a lot of coaching and support for people who are transitioning into more of a wellness sort of lifestyle. So we see it and we're exposed to it because we're asking people to make a change. And a lot of those changes will challenge or expose some of those habits, behaviours, comfort blankets that they may have in the past. A lot of those are around food, we see.
Okay.
A lot of those are around exercise. A lot of those are around belief in themselves, belief they can achieve, belief they deserve.
Yeah.
So there's
True.
Yeah. So I think we see it a lot because we're asking people to step out of those comfort zones and try something different. And often they want to, but then they're inhibited or they're aware of those things that are holding them back.
So if you think about the people that you're talking about that you work with or that we work with, what percentage of them would you say actually know that they're doing this? How many of them know that they're hanging on to something?
Yeah, I reckon probably 60-70% have things they're hanging on to.
Yeah. And
I reckon probably only about half of those are actually aware of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes really strong awareness as a human, as a person, to be aware of all those baggages, for want of a better word, those baggages across all those areas. You think about if someone said to me, what are your baggages? What are you holding on to? What are your childhood beliefs around food? I would have to sit down and think through. So, my parents brought me up to love and dislike and whatever these type of foods. I've always had a bit of a thing about this food. What about exercise? What about this? So I think there's a whole bunch of those, but you really have to sit down and think about them, because a lot of the time you don't see them as things you need to let go. It's just, this is what I've always believed, this is what I've always done. It is a habit or it's an ingrown behaviour.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because if you step away from our wellness world and just look at something that is linked, the thing that I see often in my Facebook feed and talked about in social media and in articles is how a lot of people get into a relationship that really doesn't serve them, right? So
actually, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
it's one that you see a lot. You see a lot of this, and you see, and without stereotyping or being gender derogatory in any kind of way, they're often aimed at women. They're often written by women. They're aimed at women. And they're often saying to women, think about your relationship. Is it serving you, or are you in that relationship for the wrong reasons? Are you with a narcissist? Are the things in there that you'd be better off on your own? So there's a lot of discussion, I think, in the press and in social media around leaving relationships. So it tends to be forefront because we're in a relationship for life, and I think many people go into relationships for the wrong reasons or the right reasons at the time, but people change, things move on, and they get to a point where that relationship doesn't work, it doesn't serve them, but they don't know how to move on from it. But that there may be some behaviours, there may be some things that they still sort of they still believe in, they still want, they're still clinging on to.
Yeah, or worse still, and I think this plays off the back of that, what we're not very good at, people generally, is learning from our mistakes. So whether it's a behaviour or a diet or whatever it is, we don't, when that relationship comes to an end, we don't go, okay, let's just let's draw lines and let's do a close out of that relationship and go through what went wrong. Was it something that they did, I did? Was it a behaviour, a habit? Was it something I couldn't let go? We don't actually go through and figure out what went wrong and then go, you know what, next time I go into that diet or that relationship or that activity, I need to remember there's 2 or 3 things here that helped me or really really sort of made made it very difficult for me to make that successful. So I need to remember that going forward. If I focus on not letting that happen again, I'm in a far better place to do it. And we don't learn and put that learned practice into the next step.
Yeah, I mean, the anecdotal sort of, the scenario is often, you go back to the relationship one, it's often that people go back to the same sort
Absolutely.
of,
And we see it all the time. People go back to the
don't they?
same type of person.
That's right.
And do the same things they did in the previous relationship that they realise screwed it up, essentially. But they go back and do the same thing again, expecting a different outcome.
Yeah, and it's the old adage,
Yes.
it's doing the same things but expecting a different outcome, or flip side, the
Definition
definition
of
of
insanity.
madness or insanity.
Which you have both of those.
is expecting a different result.
Yeah.
But you're still doing all the same things. So I guess just translate that back into food. You talked about food. Give me an example, Mike, of where somebody is married to an old behaviour or a habit or an old food, something that they can't drop, and it
Actually,
really doesn't serve them anymore.
I reckon one that you tell me you see a lot, and I think it's important, is in the food world, the people who are married to fat phobia. And you see that a lot because a lot of the ladies you deal with,
The low-fat diet.
the low fat diet, and you get a lot of ladies you coach and look after who come to you with this ingrained phobia of fat. And I know it's one of your biggest challenges is just getting their mind to shift out of that ingrained behaviour, phobia, habit, that baggage, that comfort blanket where they think that fat is bad, and getting them to shift out of that.
It's not just women. It's everybody in a certain age category who hasn't been re-educated.
Yeah, true. Good point.
Because all of our guidelines, and I say it time and time again, I get sick of saying it.
You don't.
Our guidelines, I do. I do.
No, you don't.
Our guidelines, all of our major health associations around the world, in all of our developed countries, have had a set of guidelines which have basically demonised fat. They've said fat is bad, fat is the root of all evil, fat has caused our cardiovascular disease, and thou shalt eat carbohydrates. And this is basically the truth that has been put forward for the last 50, 60, 70 years. And so if you've grown up, if everything you've read, then that's what you believe. And a long time ago, I believed that. I was one of those people. I went gradually from eating meat to only eating chicken, to then only eating fish, to then virtually becoming a vegetarian, cutting down on the fats. First of all, it's healthy fat, and then it went to virtually no fat. And you get into this, because as you start to get into it, you read more about it, you become more convinced.
Yes.
And if the big health organisations are telling you, why would you disbelieve them? So I think there's a lot of people who have been brainwashed with that over the years,
and for no fault of their own. They just believe.
That's it. And they're married.
They
to
believe
it.
in with the educators.
Yeah, I mean it's not a blame thing at all. It is simply because this is what we were taught. And then if you look at what's happened over the past 20 years, you had the Atkins diet came and went. Now Atkins got amazing results, but was often again demonised because it was seen as this unhealthy, not good for your heart, because it was just all meat and saturated fat. So it got some bad rap. But then since then, what's happened is a lot of those health organisations have changed their food guidance, but they haven't really publicised it. They haven't gone out there and said, excuse me, we were wrong.
Yes.
What we've been saying for years and years and years is not quite right. There's perhaps
been some errors.
An element of, mistruth in there. So they haven't retracted all their statements from the last 70 years.
Yes.
They've just slipped in, some different guidelines. They've taken a few things out. And so all of a sudden, we're expected to know the new truth, but we don't know the new truth because we haven't been told it, we haven't taught it, hasn't been publicised. So we're hanging on to this fat phobia. Low-fat diets are the way to go, and that's completely understandable because we haven't got another truth to replace it with.
But I think worse still is the age category that they preach that to, which is now our age category. We had that in our face for our formation years. So we had that for 10 to 15 to 20 to 30 to 40 years. Even if they came and said, we're wrong, it's okay to eat fat, we've got an ingrained belief, an ingrained behaviour that's been embedded for so many years. And someone coming along saying, it's okay, you can eat it now. Yeah. You're not going to let that go.
No, I'll tell you a story. So my father died of a massive heart attack when he was 50 years old.
Yes.
Right? Which is pretty young, right? So age 50. And I can remember it distinctly. I was 8 years old, and I literally got up one morning, 8-year-old, only child. I got up one morning and my grandma was staying in the house. My grandma and my mum sat me down and they explained to me that Daddy had died. Right, Daddy had died, and what happened to him was he went to bed and he had a massive heart attack at 2 o'clock in the morning and he didn't wake up from it. My mum woke up next to him and he was dead. And this was at a time, so I guess it was a time when he smoked, he drank, he ate white bread, he would slap lard onto his bread and sprinkle it with salt. And then, so he did all the things that we were then told were bad. So I then grew up knowing that my daddy died, age 50. I was a little 8-year-old kid, and I went, through my sort of formative years without him. And everything from then on, that spoke to me was that fat was bad, that salt was bad, that all of these things would cause heart disease. So in my mind, formed a very strong connection between fat, salt and heart disease. And probably until I was about 22, 23,
Yes.
I fully believed, maybe even later, maybe sort of 25, 26, I 100% believed I should not eat fat, I should not salt my food, because if I did, I would get heart disease. On top of that, I had a strong belief that genetics played a massive part in your destiny, your wellness journey. So, for, again, many, many years, probably until I was 25, 26, I truly believed I'd been dealt a shit hand when it came to, my health. My epigenetics, my genetics, was saying, you're fucked, you're going to die early. And so I avoided fat and salt like the plague. I stressed over my health, I stressed over my cholesterol levels every single year, even age 25, so
it's
from
terrible.
25, I went to the doctor every year. I got my LDL checked, my HDL checked, my triglycerides checked, all of my different markers at a time when it wasn't really normal to do that. I got all of that checked every year religiously. And then I got more and more strict and, more and more restrictive with my diet.
Yeah.
But I actually ended up in this downward spiral. So none of that served me, because the downward spiral meant that my body wasn't nourished. I wasn't getting fat in my diet. My hormones started to go wild. I went into early menopause. And there were lots of things. I suffered something that was like gluten intolerance or celiac disease. I started to suffer autoimmune conditions. All of those things were reversed within the space of 2 months when I started eating fat. But I can remember the day that I'd made the decision that I would eat fat, the terror, the deep-seated fear in my heart and my belly when I tried to actually eat it.
Yeah.
It was almost like I couldn't get it down my throat.
Yeah.
I was so damn scared of it.
Yeah.
So, these are really deep-seated beliefs,
They
right?
are. Yeah. And that's what challenges people all the time, because we're asking them to make a change. We're asking them to consider what we know and what is research has shown is a much healthier alternative. But someone with that sort of belief, you're asking them to literally take a deep-seated belief based on a tragic event, in your case, and let it go. And that is a super difficult thing to do.
Absolutely.
I guess one of the first things is to understand the first step in this process, and part of the discussion, is to identify what are some of those deep-seated beliefs. I've got a guy that I'm working with at the moment on sleep, and he's an executive, and he has a deep-seated belief that if he gets more than 5 hours sleep a night, he's a lazy prick. Because in his world, the executive world, it's almost a hero's badge to be able to do his job and get the results he gets and only get 5 hours sleep.
Yep.
He comes to work in the morning and gets the boys, how much sleep did you get last night? 6 hours. Oh, you lazy prick, I got 5 hours, I'm still going strong.
Yeah.
And it's this hero's badge, it's this banter around the office where if you get less sleep, that's better.
That's great.
So now he's starting to implement some of the lifestyle changes, and he's looking at his sleep, and I'm kind of moving him away from that thinking that less is better, and he's doing a little bit more sleep, but that deep-seated belief around I've got to have only 5 hours sleep. If I have more than that, I'm being lazy. It's a big hurdle for you.
It's a huge hurdle for people like that, because they start to see the results and they see the evidence, but it's so deeply ingrained
Absolutely.
in their psyche that giving up their old belief letting go of that thing that doesn't serve them. So in
Yeah.
his case, saying, this doesn't serve me, I need more sleep, and I'm actually far better, I'm more productive,
Yes.
I make better decisions,
Yes.
I communicate more effectively, I actually get a lot more done, I'm a more pleasant person in the office, I'm a better person around the family. So being able to really change the belief and believe in the new world,
Yes.
it's so hard,
It
right?
is. Another example, this is someone we both know, is around exercise. And this person, I won't give them their name because you know them, they have great difficulty in their deep-seated belief is more is better. And so this particular person is an ex-competitive sports person, has gone into a deconditioned state and is now changing their world to start doing exercise. But in their previous world, they were conditioned to you must train hard.
Yep.
You must train every day. You must push your body to the limit. If you have a training or exercise or a movement session that doesn't absolutely wipe you out, it's not worth doing it.
Yep.
And so now we're trying to get them to start doing some movement. Their body is 20 years older. Their physical ability is 20 years older. But yet their mind says we must train every day. We must push ourselves.
Yep.
And twice now, they've done themselves injuries. They've set themselves back because their deep-seated belief has pushed them far too hard.
Yep.
Their body hasn't coped, and they've gone 2 steps forward, 10 steps back, 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. And that's that baggage, that belief that has stopped them getting the results they deserve.
And we see it in all sorts of generations, different types of people with the exercise one, because we see the people who've got disordered body image. So they're out there, they're running on the treadmill every day, 2 hours,
Yep.
because they believe that they need it, because they need to lose weight. You've got the people around who, as you said, they believe that more exercise is better. If a bit is good, then more must be better.
Yep.
They don't believe 30 minutes is good enough, and it's got to be the hour.
Yeah.
As you said, they've got to be wiped out at the end of it, and they've got to do it every single day. You also have those people who are driven to exercise, and it just has to be done every single day. You can't let a day go past with no exercise. And that's, it's really difficult to change that mentality, to say to somebody, let's just stop for a second, let's have a look at how your body's recovering. Well, actually, you'd be better having an active recovery day.
Yep.
Or you'd be better having a day where you literally don't do anything.
Cool.
Or you take a day for yourself. That is just such a huge mindset shift.
It is. So the takeaway.
So how do we deal with it?
Okay,
What do we
so
say to
quick
people?
takeaway. Let's finish this chat. Quick takeaway. For me, the takeaway is audit your baggage. So first of all,
You love your audits,
I
Mike,
do.
don't
I do.
you?
Audit is just a wanky term for look at, understand, be aware of the baggage, the things, the behaviour, the things that have potentially held you back, whether it's impacted a relationship, impacted a diet, exercise, all the things we've talked about. Be aware of some of those things that we call baggage that could come up in the future and impact the possibility of the success you deserve, especially if you're going through a certain change in any area of your life. Have a look at when you've done that previously. What was some of the baggage? Is it still applicable? Do I need to change it? And be aware of it.
Quick tip for people who are, you might be saying now, look at your baggage, and many people say, well, I don't know how to identify it. So one quick easy way to do this is anything you're resisting,
Yes.
anything where somebody is challenging you and
Yes.
you don't agree, just have a look at that, because that could be the one thing that's your limiting belief. So have a look at that. That might be a baggage, true?
Awesome. No, you're right. So it's that awareness piece, and sometimes you do need someone else to challenge you and bring that awareness to some baggage that you may not see is there. Not that I have any.
No, not that you could possibly
No,
have any,
no.
but others might spot it, true?
Absolutely.
So phone a friend, get them to spot your baggage,
And do the audit.
and then start doing the audit.
Absolutely.
Very cool.